coming here on the background of 25 uninterrupted years in the different international criminal courts and tribunals, from the ICT era, the ICC, and the Special Court. And I can tell you that the Special Court of Sierra Leone established benchmarks, thresholds, and also standards. In particular, they broke new grounds in international jurisprudence.
There are situations where there should have been justice and there hasn't been, though sometimes it doesn't happen right away. We have obviously the country right next door, Liberia, which we, famously at this court indicted and tried and convicted Charles Taylor, the president of Liberia, but not for anything he did in Liberia, but for what he was responsible for in Sierra Leone. And they're now finally, I think, looking seriously at establishing a special court for Liberia to deal not just with the war crimes of their conflict that stretched from 1979 to 2003, but also potentially massive corruption.
Looking in 4 different tribunals, and I think the special court really stands out as a very unique court, and primarily because it was based in the country where the crimes that have been committed. It was very close to society, and I think that has been optimally used by the special court, and in that respect I think the special court stands as a very good example of how justice can be delivered. The court has taken some very groundbreaking decisions in relation to gender crimes, child soldiers, forced marriages, etc. But I think also one of the unique aspects of the court is the outreach program by which we were able to communicate with people about what justice means.
The Legacy Conference on the Special Court for Sierra Leone has been underway in Sierra Leone since Saturday, 24th February. The opening day featured public lectures at the Sierra Leone Law School.
This is an example of the legal authority of the International Court of Justice to act promptly, to provide a measure of international justice, and I think it's a very significant development.
There's no immunity for international crimes for any individual where we have jurisdiction at the ICC.
On Sunday, Sierra Leone and other invitees were engaged on focus group discussions and meetings with conference participants and judges.
The gathering here is focused more on survivors and civil society, and we have survivors from about 9 countries, excluding Sierra Leone, so 10 countries. And it's an opportunity, as I mentioned, for our judges to hear from you directly about your...
We are here as a delegation from Liberia because we are in search for justice. We are in search for international justice. Why? Because we had a conflict that took the life of over 250,000.
Je suis victime.
It's really important for us to be here again with you people to emphasize the importance of that contribution and the honor that you people brought us. That's supporting us in our fight for justice for victims of the massacre that occurred on the 28th of September.
Justice pour les victimes, avoir des réparations et surtout des garanties de non-répétition.
Part of our mandate is to promote and protect the rights of women and children. As we all know, Nigeria is currently undergoing or struggling with an ongoing Boko Haram terrorism, and also the follow-up of the humanitarian crisis that this has thrown up. We're also here with a survivor.
I also believe
that at the end of this
program we would learn perspectives from different countries.
I think that's one of the very important achievements of the special courts was the landmark decision about sexual slavery, forced marriage, and all of that being regarded as a crime against humanity.
I hope that when we close the conference, we shall finally say unequivocally that victims and survivors must be at the center of international justice.
Not
That is it.
peripherally, and we seem to focus on the perpetrators, not the victims and survivors.
We get very discouraged sometimes because we can't do all of the things that we had hoped our courts could do, specifically and most importantly for those of you in this room.
As a judge, sometimes we look more to our mandate as to what the law says, who's brought before us, and what decisions we give. So forgive us if we do not speak too much about the end product, whether people were convicted or not.
Well, as I sit here listening to the various presentations from various regions over countries here, I've heard from Mali, Guinea, Liberia, presentations that talk about international justice, and the very fact that they're here because they have learned from the Special Court for Sierra Leone that it can be achievable, that international justice can be achievable, and the fact that that lesson is coming from Sierra Leone, I think it makes some of us feel proud.
I'm a different person also after having heard from all of you.
The full-blown conference kicked off on Monday with a host of speeches and keynotes featuring the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, and Vice President of Sierra Leone, Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallo.
For the people of Sierra Leone, the Special Court's legacy will be weighed as its contribution to justice and reconciliation, the re-establishment of the rule of law following a decade or so of armed conflict, and the fight against impunity for atrocity crimes.
The Management Committee of the Special Court, the equivalent group of the Oversight Committee that I lead, was in Freetown for its annual visit to the court with supplies. Suddenly it was announced that Charles Taylor was to be handed over to the court on that same day. Excitement began to grow and crowds began to gather in the area. The rooftops of buildings surrounding the court compound become filled with people as the hours pass.
In the legacy of the court by helping to provide one of the locations of its trials at the premises of the International Criminal Court. The Kingdom of the Netherlands and the City of The Hague, which we like to call the legal capital of the world, feel a special responsibility in this regard. We host quite a number of institutions. In fact, we have a constitutional obligation to contribute to the development of the international legal order. But what we need to underline here today is the importance to take up this responsibility together as an international community of states.
Actually to know that several Sierra Leoneans who are active in the Special Court are now back in the national justice system. I'm glad also to see that the Peace Museum is going to play a part in the next few days for you. It's a hugely important part, I think, of Sierra Leone's Special Court, the legacy of the Special Court here. But I hope that with this conference and all this august company in the room, the legacy of this court can be made even more sustainable and more global.
Since 2007, excluding civil cases in one form or the other has been sanctioned in our High Court rules, promulgated by Parliament that year. The system is not yet perfect, but it is in use. It ensures that before the trial date, all evidence to be led by one side would have been disclosed to the other side. No more surprises on the day of trial. Another legacy of the Special Court is the outreach measures, which were headed by Binza Nansere. We've adopted some of these measures as well, as was evident in the interpretation of the bail and sentencing regulations, the committee of which I chair.
I urge all stakeholders to sustain the collaborative spirit that has underpinned our collective efforts. By fostering partnerships between CSOs, government entities, and international partners, we can uphold the Special Court's legacy and strengthen the rule of law.
President Trendifilova has already commented on the groundbreaking contributions of the Special Court for Sierra Leone, head of state immunity in terms of rape, forced marriages, forced pregnancies, in terms of recruitment of child soldiers under the age of 15. And I think we all stand on the shoulders of giants, whether it's looking at Nuremberg, but actually the Special Court for Sierra Leone has played a pivotal role in the ICC.
Forward to participating in the discussions over these 2 days. I wish all of you a wonderful continuation of this important conference. Also on behalf of the Secretary General of the United Nations, our legal counsel. And in closing, and before His Excellency the Vice President takes the floor, I also wish to acknowledge once more the fundamental role and commitment of the government of Sierra Leone for the success of the Special Court and its successor, the Residual Special Court. And I want to pay tribute to the role of all the individuals who worked at, for, and within these two institutions over the last 22 years. Thank you very much.
The delivery of justice. We have to do more to protect human rights and build a human rights culture. As a country, we need to rise above partisan divide and build a shared commitment to promote national cohesion and address the deep-seated causes of social injustice. Make no mistake, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is the cornerstone of a stable democratic polity. I thank you very much.
Achievements of the Special Court for Sierra Leone and its role in strengthening the rule of law in Sierra Leone and Liberia. Examples set by the courts in gender jurisprudence and its contribution to transitional justice. The discussions further paid credence to the lessons learned from the tribunal and their application to ongoing and emergent transitional justice efforts in the ECOWAS sub-region, African Union and beyond.
I think what is important is that this court has closed down about 10 years ago, and I think for a government it's very important to keep the memory alive of what the court did. Of course, the civil war here in the 1990s was awful, and people tend to forget what happened. But also people tend to forget how the Special Court played a role in peace and reconciliation.
I'm extremely happy that many years after, people who took part in the judicial process, all of them are back here, showing that they have very enduring memory. It shows the universality, because they come from all parts of the world, universality of the experiment, Special Court experiment.
I think that clearly sent the message to people that you don't gain power, you don't hold power through violence. And though the country, I know, has enormous challenges, there have been elections that the country's gone through where the opposition has won and taken power, narrow majorities, without massive violence.
In the first hour of the day to see so many friends and former colleagues reuniting. Many of you I know had not seen each other for years. Some of you may work together on a regular basis, but your careers, your friendships, your solidarity, your commitment to justice were all forged here in Freetown as this institution got off the ground and had its amazing tenure delivering justice, some measure of justice, for the terrible atrocities committed here during the civil wars. We know that these efforts are moving forward in many regions around the world, and justice advocates are looking at precedent and thinking about how that precedent can be adapted to their own unique situation. And each new contribution to jurisprudence, to institutional design, to outreach techniques, to victim-centered approaches, each of those builds upon the state of the art and will inspire justice advocates everywhere. I hope that all of these efforts continue and that these countries will be examples that show how justice contributes to lasting peace, how victims can be empowered and step forward to speak their truths, and how there is no safe haven for those who are responsible for international crimes.
We gather at the Special Court for Sierra Leone to let the world know what took place here. But this time, it will not be through heart-wrenching evidence of war crimes and crimes against humanity committed here. It is through a monument to justice, a flame of justice to let the world know that out of the ruins of war, a new light brightens the path of law for those who yearn for justice everywhere.
To forget means to deny the right of knowledge and of learning from the past and the past mistakes to the young and coming generations. And in order to keep peace, justice has to be done, because there is no peace without justice.